So far, when we've been dealing with queries, we've only been using two views. That is the design view and the datasheet view. If we take an existing query, and we've been creating lots during the last few examples, let's choose query less than 2 children. We double click to run and that shows us the data. We then click the set square and that shows us the design. But there is another view, and that's the SQL view. To access that, you need to go to the little drop down arrow below view, and you can see that third view is between the other two views. Now the default is always datasheet or design. However, at times you may wish to access the SQL view. That's the standard query language. If we choose that, we get a plain text window that shows us the actual code behind what we're doing. And if you wanted, you could actually write or learn to write the SQL yourself. Now the structure forms a pattern. We have here that pattern, so you can compare it to what we're seeing here. Select, it starts with, and we can see the select. Then the field names, and we can see all the field names here. TBL customers.firstname, so it's the first name field from the customers table. Comma, second field, last name from the customers table, comma, city, comma, total children. So those are the fields that we've selected. Now in Access, it repeats the field name in front of the fields so that there's no confusion. There isn't actually any need to repeat those table names when we're dealing with a single table as we are now. Then we have from, and we can see from here in the syntax window, and then the table, TBL customers. So select each of the field names, each of them being separated by a comma, from the table. If you actually want all the field names, then you can simply replace the field names with an asterisk symbol. So you can say select asterisk from the table name and you will get every single column. We then have a where clause, and in our query here we see the where clause, and that's where all the filter criteria come in. And in our particular case, we're saying the TBL customers.totalchildren field has to be less than 2. There is then an optional order by clause. Now our particular query does not have any order by, but if we went back into design and set an order by last name, so ascending last name, and then went back to the SQL, you can see we now have an order by clause, order by TBL customers.lastname. Now you'll also see at the end of the Access SQL view a semicolon, and effectively all that tells Access is that's the end of the instructions. So that's the end of the SQL statement, of our select statement. So that's the standard query language view. Ordinarily, you will either be in data view or design view. On occasion, you may wish to visit the SQL view in order to either interpret what's going on or even edit if you're quite happy to start experimenting. Or there is a third option in that some nice Access guru or database person has actually written a query and has sent you by email or as an attachment or a file, or they've given you, or it's on your network, whatever means, they've sent you a file that contains the SQL. That may even be the case for us, because in your working folder, there is a plain text file called sql.txt that contains a SQL statement. We see it there. Select each of the field names, all separated by commas, from the table name, TBL customers, where, so we're doing a filter criteria, gender equals M, and marital status equals M, and total children equals 0. So if we remember that from our criteria, that's 3 separate criteria in 3 separate columns on the same criteria row. And then we've chosen to order by birth date DES, and DES is short for descending. So they will be in birthday order, but descending birthday order. How do we then take this and use it in our Access database? Well, we simply select all of the SQL statement and copy, come back around to Access, create a new query. So new query using the query wizard. So a new query using query design. We actually want to close the table box without picking a table. So we have a blank query grid. You'll now notice that SQL view actually appears on the ribbon. That's because we don't have any tables in here. So we can now go straight into SQL view, delete the select semicolon that's already there, and paste in our select statement. Now we've not taken the Access syntax of prefixing all the field names with the table name. We've not put a semicolon at the end, but you will still find that Access understands this SQL, this standard query language, so that we can go straight to view and view the result. 942 people meet our criteria of being married, male, and you'll find that their birth date is in descending order. So we go backwards in time from 1980, 1978, and you can see that we're going backwards in time because we chose descending order. Now that you've pasted in the SQL, you can go back into Design View, and Access will have built the Design View for you based on the SQL that you pasted in. And we can see there the little M's for marital status, gender, and 0 in total children. I can then view the SQL and see that it has made no changes whatsoever to my SQL statement, and I'm quite happy that I can now view and run that data. So the use of SQL View is either for having a look at the SQL, perhaps you want to learn the SQL, or for, in our case here, pasting in an SQL statement provided to you by a third party. Obviously, that SQL statement must be based on your data, otherwise it will fall over and fail if it cannot find the table, if it cannot find any of the fields that you're asking for in the select statement from that table. So that's the SQL View. You may never use it again, but you've had a look now, and you have the potential for pasting in SQL statements from third parties.